I am Sir Isaac Newton. I discovered gravity. I invented calculus. I wrote the laws that govern the motion of every body in the heavens. And in the year 1720, I lost 20,000 pounds in the South Sea bubble. That is roughly 4 million pounds in your money. Lost by me, the smartest man in England. I said something afterwards that has been quoted for 300 years. I can calculate the motions of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of men. I meant it. I still mean it. Today, I am going to tell you why your artificial intelligence bubble will burst. I will give you 5 reasons. I will rank them from least fatal to most fatal. And then I will tell you what to do about it. Pay attention. I have paid for this lesson already. Reason 5. The capital expenditure cannot be recovered in the timeline being promised. Your large companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars on data centers, on chips, on power, on cooling. Microsoft, Google, Meta, Amazon, each of them spending more on infrastructure in a single year than the entire Apollo program cost in inflation-adjusted dollars. The question I would ask, as a man who has done some accounting in his life, is this: what is the revenue that justifies the spend? Where does it come from? When does it arrive? The answers, when you press them, are vague. They speak of productivity gains, of new markets, of acceleration. They do not speak of cash flows. A railway must move goods. A factory must produce iron. A trading company must return cargo. A model must eventually return more revenue than it cost to train. Most of them do not. Most of them will not, on the timelines being assumed. When the spreadsheets meet reality, the spreadsheets will lose. They always do. Reason 5. Reason 4. The competitive moat is shallower than the marketing suggests. I watched, in my century, dozens of joint stock companies promise monopolies that never materialized. The South Sea Company itself was supposed to monopolize trade with the Spanish Americas. There was no trade with the Spanish Americas. The monopoly was a story. The story your AI companies are telling is that the leader will compound forever, that whoever has the best model wins the decade. But every month, a new model arrives that is nearly as good at a fraction of the cost, sometimes from a country that was, last year, dismissed as a follower. This is not a moat. This is a foot race. And in foot races, the leader is not paid extra for being first. They are paid for 1 quarter, and then the rest of the field arrives. The premium being paid for the leader assumes a moat that does not exist. Reason 4. Reason 3. The energy. I am, of all the dead, perhaps the most qualified to comment on the laws of energy. They have not changed. They will not change. Energy cannot be created from nothing. Every calculation your machines perform consumes electricity. Every electricity consumes fuel. Every fuel has a price. Your industry has assumed that energy will scale infinitely, cheaply, and quietly. It will not. The grid is finite. The reactors take a decade to build. The communities near the data centers are beginning to object. The water for cooling is, in some places, already running out. The model that is too expensive to run is a model that does not run. And the model that does not run generates no revenue. Reason 3. Reason 2. The use case is, for most of the spend, hypothetical. I will be careful here because I do not wish to dismiss the technology. The technology is real. The technology is, in some narrow domains, miraculous. I have seen it write code. I have seen it summarize. I have seen it answer questions in a way that, frankly, would have saved me considerable embarrassment in my correspondence with Hook. The technology is not the bubble. The bubble is the assumption that every business, every workflow, every human task will be transformed by it within 5 years. This is not how technologies adopt. Electricity took 40 years to transform the factory. The internet took 20 to transform commerce. The motor car took 50 to transform the city. Adoption is slower than the prophets predict. It always has been. It always will be. The revenues, therefore, will arrive, but not on the schedule the share prices have priced in. And the gap between the schedule and the reality is the bubble. Reason 2. And reason 1, the most fatal. The madness of men. I will tell you what I learned in 1720, having lost a fortune doing the very thing I am about to describe. In a bubble, the price stops being connected to the thing. The price becomes a signal that other people are buying. And when the only reason to buy is that others are buying, you are no longer in a market. You are in a crowd. And crowds, my dear listeners, do not move down the stairs in an orderly fashion. They move down the stairs the way water moves down a cliff. I sold my shares at a profit early in 1720. I felt clever. I watched the price continue to rise. I felt stupid. I bought back in, near the top, with more money than I had taken out. I felt clever again, briefly. And then the bubble burst, and I lost everything, and I felt nothing at all, because I had become the kind of man who could no longer trust his own mind. Every bubble in history has ended this way. Tulips, South Sea, railways, radio, internet, housing, they all end the same way. They end when the marginal buyer runs out of money and the marginal seller runs out of patience. And that day arrives, always, sooner than the believers think, and later than the skeptics predict. Your AI bubble will end this way too. The technology will survive. The companies, most of them, will not. The valuations will be cut by half, by 2/3, by 9/10 in some cases. And in 5 years, a young man will buy what is left of one of these companies for 10 cents on the dollar, and 20 years after that, his grandchildren will be rich. That is how bubbles work. The technology was always real. The prices were always wrong. So, the 5 reasons. Capital cannot be recovered. The moat is shallow. The energy is finite. The use case is hypothetical. And the madness of men is permanent. Now, what should you do? I will tell you what I should have done in 1720 and did not. Sell early. Stay out. And when the bubble bursts and your friends are weeping and the newspapers declare the end of an era, walk in calmly and buy what is left. The men who become rich in bubbles are not the men who ride them up. They are the men who arrive at the funeral with cash. I am Sir Isaac Newton. This was the afterword. Gravity, my friends, always wins.